And you've built a career that spans law, government, and corporate leadership, and now civic impact. For students who feel pressure to pick the right lane early, what's your perspective? Are careers built as steady ladders or as portfolios of diverse experiences?
It's a really good question. Now that I have a few decades after college, I can reflect and look back. And what I would offer to any young person in college now thinking about their careers, to not worry about really locking in exactly what you need to do, to really use the opportunity in college to learn skills, broaden your knowledge generally, and allow time to tell where that may take you. When I look back on my career, I can honestly say that almost every job that I've had, I never heard of when I was in college. So it's just a reminder that the path can move and change, and be open to that, because if you're really stuck on one thing that you must do, that can be limiting.
Mm-hmm. And then trying to find that path and find that job can be difficult, especially with today's job market, people graduating. How can a student coming out of graduation stand out in their field from the other students that are graduating?
Well, for one, networking and reaching out to people in an industry area that you're interested in is always a good idea. Sometimes people might feel like, well, is that a waste of their time or my time? It's not. So getting to know people and introducing yourself, that can be scary, but that is, I think, an important thing to do. Secondly, as you're searching for a job, whatever experience you've already had, whether it's in an internship or if it's, I used to work in restaurants, right? Whatever your job is, really having people talk about your work ethic. And it doesn't have to be the same, skill set that would, let's say if you're a finance major, you're looking for a finance job. If you've also every summer worked in a restaurant, I guess I'll use that example, and you worked hard, it's okay to be proud of that and have the people that you work with testify to your skills and your work ethic and other things like that. I think oftentimes young people feel like they shouldn't talk about unrelated experiences, and what I would say is absolutely do.
And then networking today, especially at those networking events around Indianapolis, is just get 50 contacts in your LinkedIn and then move on. What's effective networking, and then how can college students actually apply that today?
Yeah. Well, it starts with looking at your own network, whether it's a professor maybe that has been particularly influential, a family member perhaps, and that could be extended, or a neighbor. Or again, if you've been, many of us worked various jobs to get through college, talking to people that you've gotten to know, even unrelated industry sector, to say, here's what I'm thinking about doing. Who do you know in that network? How can you help me maybe learn more or meet more people?
And then running for mayor meant putting yourself and your vision in front of an entire city. And losing that race must have been difficult. But what lessons did you take from that experience that winning or playing it safe never could have taught you?
That's a great question. Really, that was hard. It's a weird feeling to want to have a job and feel strongly that you could do something good, and then not get that job, and then also not get that job in front of a million people. So that was hard. But I think one of the things that it helped me realize is that it's okay to fail. If you believe in something and you want to take a chance, as I did in this case, it was worth it, and life continued on. So it was hard, but it was okay. In the end of the day, I didn't get that job. I tried, and I don't regret that.
You said life continues on. Many students, after an experience like that, they'll dig themselves in that hole, and their own self-thoughts will get to them. How do they see the light on the other side in that moment?
Yeah, I think it's one of the things I really, because it was hard. It hit my confidence. I was sad. There was all kinds of things, emotions that you experience. And one of the things that I just kept kind of digging in on and sort of brought me peace and joy was, I'm healthy, my family, the things I could be grateful for and should be grateful for really helped me get through those times. And we all have things to be blessings that we should be grateful for. And I think a lot of times we forget to take stock of the things that are going well. And so in times of failure or challenge, it's really important to also flip your mindset to, well, what are the things I'm also grateful for?
And you've led in 3 very different worlds: government, corporate sector, and nonprofits, and they don't always play by the same rules. What's the biggest blind spot you've seen leaders have when they move between those arenas? And how can young professionals prepare to navigate across them if they are making a career change?
Well, I think there's some basic common themes I would share that actually apply through all of those, whether you're corporate, government, community. And those are basic leadership lessons that I've learned along the way. It's really important to be a team player. That may sound really obvious, but I like to say no great thing happens by one person alone. It's a team. So embrace getting to know your team and work as a team, regardless of where you go. And I think if I look back on times where I was less effective, it was when I was in my own zone, not really thinking about others on my team and just trying to get work done. That's never as effective, and that can apply to all of those arenas.
When switching between, those jobs, there's many transferable skills like communication, how to be a team player, like you just said. How can a student practice those skills now, even if they don't have the internship or have the job?
Yeah. Again, I would start with, if it's possible to find an internship or a job, of course, that's a great opportunity. And I know that's not always the case. These things take time. I've been there myself. But other ways that you can practice those skills include volunteering. I think volunteering, by the way, is a great way to network and also make an impact. Or other jobs that we may need because we're, financially trying to support ourselves while we're finding that next job. You can still practice all those skills there. So it doesn't have to be, it's kind of related to my earlier comment, it doesn't have to be exactly in the job in the industry you ultimately want to be in. I will just come back to volunteering is really a great way to get to know other people, to practice some of those leadership skills. When I was a young professional, I was relatively new to Indianapolis. I wasn't from here. And I'm really glad that I volunteered. I did volunteering because I was passionate about some specific issues. One in particular, my dad had passed of leukemia, so I got involved in the Leukemia Society. And I met people that I never would have met anywhere else. And over time, on that volunteer basis, I ultimately became a board member. I ultimately became the president of that board. This is a long time ago, but those were great opportunities for me to make an impact, but also have some experience in communication and teamwork and those kinds of things.
A lot of listeners right now are Indianapolis students. Do you know any organizations off the top of your head that are looking for volunteers that they could go to?
Oh, absolutely. There's
Top 5, maybe?
Too many to even. I know that the United Way does a nice job of having a aggregate, by the issue that you might be interested in. So the United Way's website, I think, is one that's a very positive one. There's so many, and that's a great thing, by the way. What I would say is to any student thinking about volunteering is to really think about what are you passionate about, and then look into some of those organizations. These days, it's easy now to Google and other things like that. I didn't have that option when I was a young professional. And then lastly, I don't want to skip over, let's say, at UIndy, for example, there are lots of opportunities for volunteering through student clubs and things like that I would definitely explore.
And the EPOP Indiana study showed that Indiana has a strong interest in entrepreneurship, but still lags behind the national average. Do you see that as a culture challenge, a resource challenge, or something deeper? And if you were a 20-year-old here today with one good idea, what would your first move be?
Well, entrepreneurship is a really important part of economic prosperity for the state. It's just one piece. It's not the whole thing. That EPOP study did indicate that we lag. More recent data is showing some more encouraging news, but we still have a long way to go to promote more entrepreneurship. I think there is, in part, a cultural issue with less appetite, perhaps, in this state to take risk and start a new business. So one of the things that we want to do, and we are launching, is more awareness of some of the great entrepreneurship stories, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs in Indiana who have taken that risk and done great things. In terms of if someone has a great idea, what should they do next? Even at your UIndy, since I'm talking to someone at UIndy, if it's in a certain area of focus, I would start with talking to a professor or a mentor at UIndy just to say, hey, I have this idea. What are your thoughts? And go from there.
And you helped commission the planning study that led to the 16 Tech Innovative District, essentially betting on something that didn't yet exist. For students sitting on an idea that feels small or fragile, what's your advice on knowing when to double down or when to step back?
Well, it's, again, a case-by-case basis to know, right? But I do believe that intuition means something. Mm-hmm. So if you have an idea and it seems so far-fetched, at least flesh it out. I'm a believer in putting pen to paper even. Like, what is your idea and what would it look like? More than just an idea in your head, right? And I don't think I could give an answer on, when you know to double down or not. But to your question about specifically 16 Tech, I was involved in the initial just planning, and that was a long time ago, way before all this great work here in the building we're sitting in that was done by many others. But that's a good example of where you had to start with something on paper. Mm-hmm. So rather than talking about it, we actually commissioned a firm to draw what this would look like and design what it would look like so you could at least visually see it. So putting things to paper and trying to actually take it from just an idea in your head to the next step is actually more meaningful than someone might think.
Whenever you have that idea in your head and you're about to take it to paper, but you have multiple ideas, what's your navigation process and how do you choose what idea to go forward with? Because time is of the essence.
Another thing is a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So if you have multiple ideas and you're trying to prioritize, and prioritizing is always a good thing, a good old-fashioned list of, what are the pros, what are the cons, what are the opportunities, what are the threats, and just making a comparative, determination which one seems to be more realistic and probable is probably what I would do.
And you are a varsity athlete at IU, and sports often teach resilience in ways that the classroom can't. Is there a moment from track and field that still shapes how you respond to pressure or setbacks as a leader today?
I think more in the general, yes. Just the overall, that feeling of preparation and being at the starting line and knowing you prepared for it. So you weren't going to be able to fake it on the track. If you had worked hard, you had a good chance of competing well. If you hadn't, it was probably going to show. So I think that more as a general theme has certainly carried me. And I know there's really no shortcuts for working hard and preparing for something that's important.
And roles like the Deputy Mayor, Cummins VP, and now CEO of the CICP, you've had to make decisions where the stakes are high and the critics are loud. What's the inner dialogue you have with yourself before making a call that could define your leadership and character?
Great question. For big decisions, I try to be in a quiet place and get the input from my team or others that, have voices that are helpful to make an ultimate decision. But ultimately, if it's a big one, I really try to be in a quiet place and really think about when this happens, whatever this choice or decision is, what will be the implications, and will people be helped? Will this be positive, whether it's for the community or the business? What are the risks? And I'm definitely someone who tries to think through the risks, sometimes overthink, but that's an important part of it too. And ultimately just get comfortable that it's the best decision that can be made with the most positive impact of the various outcomes.
And then to wrap up the podcast, we like to do a couple of the rapid fire questions. Okay. So what is one leadership belief you had early in your career that took you too long to unlearn?
That you just have to go and get things done. And if other people aren't available, just do it. I think that I took way too long to realize, no, it's better to slow down sometimes and make sure the team is included and make sure you make the best choices in action, not just as a one person.
A book or resource you think every student should pick up before graduation?
I think that I'm going to plug for See Yourself In is a resource that CICP has made available that highlights real Gen Z young people in real jobs in the advanced industries in Indiana. And I wish I had something like that when I was a student coming out of college or just shortly out of college. So taking some time and actually looking at real people in real jobs in Indiana in advanced industries through our See Yourself In, which can be found at the CICPindiana.com website.
And one skill you wish more young professionals had when they enter the workforce?
Communications is really important. professional, clear, open dialogue is really, really important. It's hard to get things done without
And
having
then
good communication.
one piece of advice on a billboard for every student in Indiana to see.
On a billboard. I guess I'm going to go with the corny, but I really believe in be kind. Be kind in everything you do. There's no reason not to be. So I would say if I only had one shot, be kind.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.